Welcome, Eagles fans everywhere, to our continuing coverage of Eagles Training Camp 2020, presented by Independence Blue Cross here at the NovaCare Complex. Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy on this Tuesday. Big Fran, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Dave?
I'm good. I feel like it's the regular season.
Yeah, it's got that vibe, right?
I look at Zach Ertz there, and he's loosening up, and I know that in his mind he wants to have a great day. But all of our focus really just Saturday, the roster gets cut down to 53. Sunday, the practice squad is established. And then 1 week from Sunday, bing, bang, boom, the Eagles at the Washington football team. Who's going to be playing left tackle? Will it be Jason Peters? Well, it sounded like Doug Peterson said, that is not in the plans. Jason Peters is here to play right guard and has done an excellent job. So, Fran, I'll ask you the question. Who's your left tackle for the opener?
I mean, it's
look at that. We got a little chokehold going on here. We got a little wrestling going on. Keith Gray and Brandon Graham, a little playful love time as they walk out of the field. I'm sorry, let's get back to the business
of course,
at hand.
of course. I mean, it certainly seems like signs are pointing towards number 69, Matt Pryor, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was the starter this past week in the scrimmage. Has been working on the left side the last two practices since the injury to Andre Dillard. Jordan Mailata has been on the right side.
Listen, I think that the Eagles know that they can move Jason Peters over in an instant. But right now they want to get a lot of reps for Pryor.
Yep.
Who's been mostly on the right side in his career here with the Eagles. He's played all four positions other than center in his NFL career and, of course, in college. So the more reps you can get this very, very young offensive line that is, we must remind you, without Brandon Brooks at least for the foreseeable future. Good to see Carson Wentz back on the field. He missed the scrimmage on Sunday. Offensive line without Andre Dillard for the remainder of the season with a torn biceps. And day-to-day, Lane Johnson still out of practice with that lower body injury. So the Eagles trying to work some magic here. Jeff Stoutland, I insist that this is his greatest challenge in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's a test anytime you're trying to work in with multiple backups, not just one backup. That's one thing. Working in with two or three backups going into week one against a front with a brand new defensive scheme, new staff. There's challenges, and that's the thing, Dave. You know, everybody talks about, and we've talked about it. The Eagles go in with so much continuity, and that is a good thing, obviously, going into the season. But when game planning for these teams that have new systems, new staffs, that could be a little troublesome, especially without the preseason. You didn't have that ability to get eyes and say, all right, this is kind of the way that they're going to do things schematically. You're relying completely on old film from last season.
Yeah, from when Ron Rivera was in Carolina.
Yeah.
So you figure that that's the kind of defense that the Washington football team, which does have an excellent front seven, that they're going to try to bring the heat at the Eagles and that changing parts offensive line. Now, for the Eagles defense, I feel very confident in saying that the Eagles have been outstanding on defense throughout the summer. Really good front, even without Derek Barnett and without Javon Hargrave. I like the way that Rodney McLeod is taking control of the secondary. New pieces back there. The communication looks like it's been solid. I feel like the defense is clearly ahead of the offense, and I think that's probably the way it is in most NFL cities.
Yeah, I think most often in training camp, the defense always seems to have a little bit of a leg up. You know, this guy, Avonte Maddox, number 29, has been around the football. He's made some plays. Darius Slay has made some big plays on the back end. So I think when you look at this secondary, you've seen a lot of what we were hoping to see coming into the summer. The defensive line, as you mentioned, has been so disruptive. The linebackers now, it's going to be very interesting just to watch them prove it. You look at this defensive scheme, it's predicated on the front four getting as much pressure, wreaking havoc as much as possible on the other side of the line of scrimmage, and then letting the linebackers clean up. So when you look at guys like Nate Gary, TJ Edwards, Duke Riley, I'm interested to see how those guys look in week one as we see TJ Edwards walking out onto the field right now.
Yeah, and listen, there are some nervous people here, young men who are vying to make this 53-man roster and the up to 16-player practice squad. So within a week's time, we're all going to be turning our sights to the Washington football team. Now today, just to update you on some injuries because it is noteworthy here. Let me go off the top of my head who will not be in practice today. Running back Miles Sanders still day-to-day with a lower body injury. We know that Dillard no longer on the practice field. Offensively, we are still here missing Jalen Reagor, who suffered the upper body injury. He is now week to week
Yep.
That is disappointing for a young man who is really off to an excellent start. The Eagles' first-round draft pick, week to week with an upper body injury. And who else is missing on the offensive side? I think
Lane Johnson. as
Lane
you
Johnson's
mentioned,
still
is
day-to-day,
still
right? We mentioned
day-to-day.
him. Yep.
I believe that's Dallas Goedert missed practice or missed a scrimmage on Sunday as well.
Have not seen him on the field here. Defensively, still no Hargrave. I don't believe Barnett. He is still out. Otherwise, the defense seems like it's in pretty good shape, at least at this point. And again, half of this is getting ready for Washington, and the other half is looking at the Eagles and this roster. And there's a player who has been impressive. John Hightower really has shown up in this camp, and Doug Peterson talking about that this morning. He's pretty much made plays along with that guy every day.
Yeah, he's shown up every single day and has made plays. Certainly showed up in that scrimmage the other day. I'd love to ask you, who were some of the guys that caught your eye on Sunday?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's really hard to tell defensively. Trying to think here. Hightower,
Yeah.
Deshaun Jackson. Let's see, running back wise, Elijah Holyfield has been really good.
Had a couple nice reps in pass protection, like
Yeah.
just where he stood a
Solid,
blitzer
yeah.
in the hole. Yeah.
I think Corey looks good. Now, Corey, the drill here is how many footballs can Corey Clement catch on a punt, holding the footballs in his hand, in his arms, and then so he's up to 4 now. Can he catch 5? Oh. We've got a little Zoom call today with Acme, so I'm going to make sure that Corey Clement hears about it since we caught him red-handed there with 4 footballs in his arms and unable to bring down the 5th one. But Boston Scott, I think he's looked good. Offensive line-wise, tough to tell, honestly,
Yeah.
Fran. I think there's been so many moving parts. I think Jordan Mailata, at times, really, you see a lot of improvement from him.
He really has.
I think Isaac Seumalo had a really good rep against Malik Jackson. I think he threw him to the ground. I recall seeing that.
Yep.
I'm trying to think defensively.
Josh Sweat, I thought.
Josh Sweat looks
showed
good.
up.
Yep, Josh Sweat. I thought Joe Osman has had a nice camp here.
Sure.
I think that who had the pick that got called back with the penalty on
I
the
think,
sideline?
I think James had the one, and then
Yeah,
he gave up
James
a
had the
couple
one. Yeah,
late.
then he gave up a couple.
He gave up a couple after the interception. Will Parks had an interception on a tip pass.
And that was without. I thought Nate Sudfeld took some really valuable reps
Yep.
in that practice with the ones. He and Jalen Hurts splitting time with the ones. So good reps. But the good news today, Eagles fans, is that Carson Wentz is back on the field. You notice we've got all of these camera angles for you, and you can control your very own camera angles and a whole lot more by downloading the Philadelphia Eagles official app. And if you haven't done so already, I ask you, why not? The Eagles app is available to you. We've got great content on there 24/7, including your controls of this Eagles introduction to practice, which we're, I think, going to be having throughout the year here, Fran, at least once a week. That is
I
the
think
hope.
so. That'll be
Give
fun.
everybody a little peek at what's happening here at the NovaCare Complex. It's our continuing coverage of Eagles Training Camp 2020, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy. And we do have Dallas Goedert back on the field. There he is. So that is a good sign
Good
as
sign,
well.
yep.
I just feel like game 1, you're going to see game 2, tons of Eagles tight ends. Tons and tons.
The identity of this offense runs through Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert in the passing game and in the run game. So, having those two guys both on the field healthy, huge for this Eagles offense. All the different matchups that they can create, again, both in the run game and pass game. It's so important, and especially you lose a Jalen Reagor, which is really tough to swallow. But getting back Deshaun Jackson, seeing what the speed of John Hightower can do with J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Greg Ward, and the rest of these guys, it's going to be fun to watch.
And we are still talking about a wide receiver core that has not seen Alshon Jeffrey.
Yep.
And no word really on when Jeffrey will be back. And in fact, no timetable this morning from head coach Doug Peterson. And just a reminder, we're doing some drills here with you, just showing you a little bit behind the curtain. Once the team breaks into the on-field 11-on-11 where they're lining up, we don't want to give Washington any hints. We don't want to give the Rams any hints. So we kind of call it a day and move into tomorrow. There's Jalen Reagor, Eagles' first-round draft pick. Had to be disappointed suffering that upper body injury. He's now listed as week to week. What a terrific start, though, in his first training camp.
I mean, I don't want to play doctor from 700 yards away and 8 walls, but no sling, no restriction of movement. That's a good sign, right?
Fran, I like you just play one on the broadcast here. I mean, come on. I don't want to play a doctor, but yeah.
It's
I mean,
good to see.
the fact that he's out of practice is a really good sign.
Exactly.
And so now we're moving into the special teams portion of warm-ups and going through the mechanics of the field goal kick. The long snapper, Pro Bowler Rick Lovato. The holder is punter Cameron Johnston, and of course, Jake Elliott, who had a terrific. He's been remarkably consistent in his 3 years. He's increased his range. He's been a lot better, Fran, on those vexing 40 and under kicks.
That's right.
That he missed early in his career.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, I mean, he's just been automatic here this summer. It's just been such a high-level player for the Eagles since they picked him up off waivers
It was
after
the
camp.
practice squad.
Practice squad of the Cincinnati
Bengals
Bengals.
practice squad.
5th-round pick out of Memphis.
Out of Memphis, yes, sir. Yes, sirree. We are at Eagles practice here at the NovaCare Complex. It's our continuing coverage, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Glad to be with you on this Tuesday. Corey Clement with Marty Mornhinweg, whose famous line is, of course, in press conferences, it's cyclic.
It's all cyclic. He returns back to
and so he's cyclic. His career, in fact, is cyclic. He was right. All those years, people were mocking him. In fact, he was right. It all comes back to Marty.
See Corey and Boston Scott.
Yeah,
there
you know,
as well.
I want to talk about some of these young running backs, and Miles Sanders still out. But whether Miles is in or out, I think the Eagles feel like, and we early in camp, before, hey, will the Eagles sign a veteran running back? Fran, I get the sense it's not going to happen, right? That they really like what they've seen.
I mean, all these guys have shown nice flashes. We know what Boston Scott can bring to the table. We got to see that in game action last year as a really nice change of pace option. He's got a little bit of lightning to him in the way he plays. We know what Corey Clement can bring when he's healthy. And then you see number 33, this guy right here, Elijah Holyfield, has had really nice reps. Whether it's catching the football, running between the tackles, or in pass protection, which is all you're asking for from those third and fourth running backs. Like, come in. You're only going to play a handful of snaps. Whatever we need you to do, we need you to come in and do it at a high level.
I would describe Holyfield as an agitated runner. Angry, really plays with a lot of emotion, a lot of energy. And I'll tell you what, undrafted players, Mike Warren, Adrian Killen, they've done a nice job.
They have.
They've come in and they've competed, and whether that's good enough to make the football team, to play in the NFL, we don't know. But I think the Eagles have been pleased, at least to this point, with what they've seen from a very, very young group of running backs.
Part of this has been, it's been an 80-man roster, not a 90-man roster during training camp, but it just feels like the guys on the bottom of the depth chart, it was just a really competitive camp. There weren't a lot of reps where you saw, I just don't know if this guy can make it. I just feel like it was a really competitive camp over the last couple of weeks, all these guys doing their part.
Well, there's no doubt that when you go from 81 to 90, the quality of the player drops off.
No question.
In the past, there have been players you go, what is that guy doing on this field? And so, it really makes a big difference going from 90 players to 80 players to 78 players, and then all the injuries.
Yep.
And you see how much better players get when they have reps and they know what they're doing on the field and they don't have to think about it. And Deshaun Jackson dancing, as always, as he gets in line here for these wide receiver drills.
Dave, was Deshaun always no glove?
I don't think he ever wore gloves.
I couldn't remember from early in his career if he wore gloves.
There's John Hightower, who's been impressive. Quez Watkins, been impressive. Good group of receivers. Greg Ward, I think, has taken a big step in his confidence. There he goes right there. And he just gets so hard on himself. So what is this drill here? You're doing what?
So they're really just kind of trying to really be deliberate with what they're doing at the top of the break, working on syncing your hips, okay, because that's so important with change of direction, the ability to get in and out of breaks. So you can see that they're coaching them up on syncing your pad level at the top of the break, and then just freezing your hands at the catch point, making sure you look that ball all the way in. You can see how he's coaching, get down low, and then look the ball in along the sideline. For
those of you who golf, maybe this is akin to the top of the backswing, pausing, and then coming through all the way.
That's right.
Is it?
I'm not a golfer.
I'm not a golfer either. I'm a lousy golfer.
I know that's.
I was just like throwing it out there and seeing if it made any sense at all, honestly. I mean, what are we going to talk about? These guys are touching a cone and crossing. Really.
Yeah, that's the big thing. They're trying is slow everything down, and then I'm sure what they'll do if they're not going to do it right after this, at some point today, is they're going to run through these same routes faster. So you're really going to see them speed through these out cuts and work on making sure your pads go low so you can get in and out of the break well.
Deshaun Jackson is such a natural catcher, route runner. He glides when he's out there. Working with Jason Avant there, former Eagle. I think this wide receiver group and the coaching staff, they deserve a lot of credit for getting some young wide receivers up to speed very, very quickly without the benefit of preseason games. And now the Eagles are going to go into the season relying on some of these young receivers, the J.J. Arcega-Whitesides, the Greg Wards, maybe if Hightower, Watkins, who knows who makes the team here, but they're going to need all of these players early in the season.
I mean, they did last year too, where you're going to go to the bottom of the depth chart and you have to make sure that all these guys can play. They've got to be ready, and I think you're going to see that with this group. Is all these guys are going to contribute in one way, shape, or form. I'm excited about the group overall, and you look at what Aaron Moorhead and what this group has done, coaching these guys up. Matt Harper, you mentioned Jason Avant as well. All these guys working with these receivers. It seems like it's just a very well-coached group this year. Everything's sharp. Everything's deliberate. There's not a lot of sloppy play out there. You're going to get your drops every once in a while. That's a part of playing receiver. But overall, the guys have just looked a lot sharper here this summer.
It's interesting, Fran. The Eagles have really made a conscious effort, and Jeffrey Lurie, so supportive of the coaching staff and the entire organization. This is a large coaching staff in numbers.
Yeah.
And so it really pays off when you have a chance in a truncated on-field period. Aaron Moorhead, new offensive wide receivers coach there, to get individual work with players. 2 offensive line coaches, 3 defensive line coaches. Jason Avant helping out Matt Harper and Aaron Moorhead at wide receiver. You really notice the difference when you can have time for individual instruction.
Yep.
And in this instance, I mean, the Eagles are trying to make up for lost time, as is the entire NFL. Very difficult to do. And then here you go. This is your get your knees up drill, run through traffic, keep your feet moving here. And that is athletes, guys. If you think you're an athlete, go out there and try this.
Have you ever run through that gauntlet?
I have,
yeah,
actually.
That does not tickle going through that thing, man.
Look, from the very first step, I'm stumbling. I can't even get my legs up that high. But back in the day, Fran, I could rip through that thing. This is not the day.
No.
Now look at this, Adrian Killen. Now, Adrian Killen is a fast, lightning quick. Now watch Deuce Staley go. Go. Get your legs up, boom, go through there.
Those pylons there they run through, those things hurt, man. That you got to have your full pads on if you're going through that thing.
I am honestly exhausted watching that. Let's keep it on this. This is a good drill to watch. Let's see. They stopped it.
Of course.
Of course. We'll get you more tomorrow. We're back tomorrow with more coverage here of Eagles Training Camp 2020, presented by Independence Blue Cross, and that'll do it for the day. We thank you for joining us here at the NovaCare Complex. Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy. We're back tomorrow with more coverage of Eagles Training Camp 2020, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Everybody have yourselves a great Eagles day, and fly, Eagles, fly.